this year against the dollar. And the reason why the dollar has gone up is because the Fed has had to execute a very, very dramatic and abrupt rise in interest rates to be able to deal with inflation, which is at 40-year highs in the US. So they've got to trigger a hard landing. They've got to fight inflation in the US. They've been raising rates. And as they've been raising rates, all those economies, all those currencies that don't have very good macroeconomic fundamentals are crashing and not doing well. On the other hand, the Indian economy and the Indian currency remains very, very stable given this volatility and this turbulence. So the Honorable Prime Minister was right to blame macroeconomic management in 2013, and he's absolutely right to praise the macroeconomic stability that we have right now and the way in which we've managed our fundamentals.
Mr. Verma, are you convinced, as an opening remark, I'm going to take it, of course, from the entire panel, but as an opening remark, are you convinced with what Mr. Jansina is saying tonight?
No, I try to avoid speaking in black and white polarities. I think no criticism of any government can say that it has not done anything. And I'm sure this government too, on several fronts, has made new beginnings or important beginnings. The problem is that what we use to attack one government often comes back to haunt you. In fact, the current Prime Minister and then Chief Minister of Gujarat had said the rupee is falling because of the blatant corruption in the UPA government. He didn't go into the reasons why. He linked these two things. Should it be responsible for us to do the same now? I don't think these polemics matter. The important point is, and I really regret to say this, I think Prime Minister Modi and the BJP had an advantage which the UPA never had. They came with an absolute majority. And the nation was expecting that with this absolute majority in 2014 and repeated in 2019, the Modi government lost a historic chance to have a strategic vision to do something fundamental towards the strengthening of the economy. So they have, in a way, in my view, fallen flat between two stools. They have not as vigorously pushed economic reform and modernization. On the same hand, they have not done enough for the visible inequality of the country. Let me say this, and I don't say this as a criticism necessarily. It has always been there, but perhaps today, Rahul, we must be one of the most unequal societies of the world. 1% of the richest own 23% of the wealth of the country. 10% of the richest own 77% wealth of the country. I'm not against corporate tigers, and they should be encouraged, but the billionaires' incomes have, in spite of the Black Swan event, gone up by 10 times. The poor in these last years by only 1%, and you know the rate of inflation and what that means. So people have been knocked off the middle class. The number of the absolute poor have grown. The BJP is living under the awning of a resurrection of India shining. And we have genuine pain and hurt at the level of the common people. If a cylinder costs 1,000 rupees, if edible oil costs 200 rupees, if 344% has been the additionality on fuel in terms of taxes, somebody is paying. And as far as jobs are concerned, I didn't want to repeat because you began the program with that. The Prime Minister came and there was hope in him. He said 2 crores jobs I'll create. Instead, according to the CMIE, we've lost something like 12 crore jobs. 22 crore people applied for a job, 7.2 lakh people got a job. So obviously, while there were some important interventions like the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act, RERA, I commend the government for it. But he didn't move strongly enough on the necessary economic reform, and certainly, in spite of the welfareism post-COVID, he has not done enough. I'll give one example only. If we are doing so well and if the fundamentals are fine, the global hunger index, we were at number 55 in 2014. Today in 2021, we are at 101. So if these fundamentals are not taken care of, we have to ask ourselves whether actually the macro fundamentals are right.
Quick riposte.
Our growth is at 7%. We have come out of a very difficult COVID period by supporting our population. 800 million people, 80 crore people have got free rations. This has really got India through a very difficult time, and our recovery now is very strong. Foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investment, private sector investment, all are going strong right now. We have made the hard reforms to be able to position our economy in this fashion. If we had not made those reforms, Pavanji talked about the insolvency and bankruptcy court, which of course I've done a lot of work in, but he didn't mention GST, he didn't mention privatization, he didn't mention what we've done with the public sector banks, and on and on and on, the production linked incentive programs. The number of reforms, the way in which we have repositioned our economy so that it can sustain 7% growth going forward is extraordinary. And of course, there are issues with respect to creating more jobs and so on, but even there the numbers, if you actually look at organized job creation through the numbers that come out through EPFO and so on, those have also been quite strong. So overall, I would say that the economic performance of this government, given the challenges and crises that the entire global economy has gone through over the last 5 years, has been extraordinary, which is why the macroeconomic fundamentals are as strong as they are, growth is as strong as it is, the current account deficit, fiscal deficit, all of it is under control when you compare it to other economies. And you can see in the consumption numbers right now, in the growth numbers right now, an economy that's roaring back to life and creating lots of jobs.
Okay, let's dig a little deeper with statistics and with two economists also beyond Mr. Sinha. Prasenjit K. Bose, let me quote Mr. Chidambaram, the former finance minister, and he says, the fall in the dollar-rupee rate is inevitable given our current account deficit, inflation, increase in interest rates domestically and in the US, outflow of foreign portfolio investment and decline in exports. The exchange rate must be viewed as a price. It is one of the trinities that the RBI has to manage. The rupee will gain only when the fundamentals improve, unquote. That's his rather long-winded way of saying we're a disaster.
We're far from it. I think the reality is that, first of all, he talked about exports declining. Which world is he in? India's exports grew 42% in 2021. That was the fastest growth of any major economy in the world. In fact, the fastest growth in
year
Asia.
Basis?
This
On a
is
year-to-year basis?
Annual growth.
No, but in comparison with the previous year.
Yes, 42%. In the first 6 months of this calendar year, they grew 24.5%. They then decelerated sharply. Yes, they decelerated, but they still grew in July and August, grew about 2%. Now, 2% year on year. So exports are not contracting by any means. This is just goods exports. If you look at India's share of US imports, they've steadily gone up, and India's share is now 2.7%. In 2014, it was about 1.6%. So there's been a significant increase. India's share of world exports has gone up. Now, let's look at the rupee. The rupee this year has appreciated against the Chinese renminbi. It has appreciated nearly 10% against the euro and the sterling, that's the British currency, the pound sterling. It has appreciated nearly 18% against the Japanese yen and the Korean won. Now, Korean won, Japanese yen, Chinese renminbi are some of Asia's strongest economies and currencies. Under normal circumstances, the rupee has actually done better against them. Now, we are in a period of dollar strength. The dollar is strengthening. Now, if you just look back to 2011 and 2013, in 2011, over a 6-month period, the rupee depreciated 15% against the dollar. Again, in 2013, it depreciated 15%. Now, 15% is normally considered a currency crisis. We are not in a currency crisis by any means now. And the reason is that the Indian economy has deleveraged. If you look at the corporate sector, if you look at the banking system, the credit growth over the last 8 years has averaged 9% annual average growth. So in the period from 2004 to 2014, average annual credit growth was 23%. As a result of that, we had the so-called twin deficit problem. We had the twin balance sheet crisis. Crisis of the banking system and a crisis in the corporate sector. That has been largely dealt with through a period of extreme prudence. The banks have been extremely prudent. And in terms of external debt of India had increased 296% between 2004 and 2014. Over the last 8 years, it's increased only 39%. So India is deleveraging in terms of external debt. It is deleveraging in terms of domestic indebtedness of corporates and of the exposure of the banking system to that indebtedness. And all of this is contributing to macroeconomic stability. And that is why, if you look at the stock market's performance, in the last 3 months, India has outperformed almost all the world stock markets. We've been in a bear market globally. India has outperformed the rest of Asia. It has outperformed the US. And the reason is that India's economy is strong. Real GDP is growing, likely to grow about 7.5% this year. Nominal GDP is growing very strongly. As a result, corporate revenues are doing well. But even more importantly, the government's revenues are booming. And as a result, the fiscal deficit is coming down. The net market borrowing by the government, both central and state, in the year to date, in the fiscal year to date this year, is actually down year on year. This is remarkable in a world where almost everybody else has a debt crisis. There is a massive problem of debt in the United States, where the public debt is nearly 100% of GDP. In the UK, it's over 100% of GDP. Italy, it's 150% of GDP. And now across the world, you have a serious debt crisis. India is the one place that is a relative island of stability amid this sea of troubles
reams
around
after
the world.
reams.
This is the reality.
Mr. Basu is adding a lot of facts to what I said, where India is a haven of macroeconomic stability and growth. Right?
Okay, but reams after reams. And, I've been sort of reading up quite a bit before I got in here because, I have to sort of bandy wits with people who understand economics far better than I do, so I better be a little prepared. Look, the depreciating rupee is likely to have an impact on, your imports, your loans, your stocks. You were mentioning that as some sort of a sunrise sort of sector of the economy. Cars, foreign education, foreign travel. Let's, for a moment, discount the last two, Mr. Sinha, but loans will have a direct, the depreciating rupee will have a problem on.
Loans will go up if the
Yes.
RBI continues to raise rates.
Exactly.
Which they will have to do a little bit because the Fed is raising rates as much
Yes,
as
which
it
will
is.
have a direct impact
So
on.
it will have some impact, but you have to understand that we have still tremendously robust growth going on, and so any concerns that people have about their loans or whatever is made up by the fact that their wages are also going to go up dramatically as well because of the growth that we have, and as a result of that, people are on a year-on-year basis continuously getting better off, and you're seeing that in their consumption patterns as well.
Professor Acharya, doesn't this all feed into each other at some point?
Well, let's put it this way. The present debate of the rupee going down, everybody says, okay, it's gone down from 78 to 81 in the last 2-3 months. And the obvious culprits are the prices of petroleum, the trade disruption, which is happening for a variety of reasons, supply chains getting affected, local inflation, food, and flight of capital from India. Lots of companies are leaving, and so is the capital market. A lot of money is flowing out from there. This is the current explanation which is given. My thinking is as follows. I look at it a little longer, as Pawanji had said. Look at 1947, we were exchanging at 4 rupees. Now we are exchanging at 80 rupees. So there's been a 75% fall in the rupee, and I have actually computed the whole thing. There has been a secular fall all along. And why has this happened? Because in no year, and I underline no year, have we had a current account, or rather put it this way, a current trade surplus anywhere. We have always been a deficit economy. So when we are a deficit economy, we have to borrow from somewhere else. We have to borrow, steal from banks overseas, and our people working in the Middle East send the money, and that is how we kind of cover up some of the deficits. We borrow from ADB, we borrow from the World Bank, we borrow from the capital account into the current account. That's also a bit done. So in a way, if we have a look, our economy has had a long-term kind of a trend where the rupee has been going down. And if you ask me personally, I have seen many economies when I was in the UN. We have this kind of a tendency in many economies where a continuous deficit in the trade will lead to continuous depreciation of the currency. Why are we having this kind of a problem? Why are we not able to export? Now, if you look at the composition of the exports, we have gems and jewels, we have petroleum products. Gems and jewels we import, we do some value adding and export. Same thing with automobiles, which are our companies. Tatas and Mahindras are not the number one companies. It's Japanese companies, it's Korean companies, they import a lot of stuff, export some, so we lose money there. The third one, machinery. Fourth thing, pharma. Pharma, we say we are the world's third largest, but the fact is a lot of active ingredients coming from overseas. APIs, as you call them. So how much net foreign exchange are we gaining? Now, this kind of a situation has been there for a very long time. Modi ji has tried to change some of this in the Made in India scheme. But what has happened? If you look at some of these companies like Samsung, which have come here, Sony, which have come here, how much of value added is being done in India? It's a small 10% or 20%. Rest of it, it's not. And the money is expatriated back to the home country. So we have a serious problem of technological gap in this country, and everybody is talking about a techno era. Where are we in technology? We don't have the skills, scale, and speed which other countries are having, like China, for example. If you take the microchips, we started thinking about it in 2006-07. We still don't have it. China started thinking about it at the same time. They got it by 13-14, and they are manufacturing not the best of the chips, but they're still doing it. What we do is we export our best manpower. Let them do it there rather than here. So there was a time when the whole of top IIT cream used to go to America. They would make the products and our people would sell them. And those people who didn't go went into management. So the hard engineering which they did for 4, 5, 6 years, like some of us did, hard engineering would convert into selling the product, managing people, managing finances. So we really haven't gained in science and technology, and top of it, the government is spending less than 1% of the GDP compared to, say, China, which is spending 2 or 3%, Korea, which is spending 7% on research and development. So we have a serious problem of having to slip back on a long-term basis in technology, and that is the reason why many of these things are slipping.
Okay, let me just bring you in, and the two of you. Mr. Sinha, how much of a cushion do we really have? Let's assume for a moment that there's going to be another cycle of interest rate hikes in the US, for instance. Someone was talking about the high level of inflation in the United States. Obviously, that will put more pressure on the Indian currency, the rupee. Now, I ask you about the cushion because the RBI intervention meant that our foreign exchange reserves have depleted by more than, if I'm not mistaken, $90 billion since the start of the year. So what are we looking at here?
Well, we have to look at it, first of all, in the perspective of the global economy. In the global economy, as I said, the Fed is engineering much higher rates to be able to bring down the growth in the US economy and bring down inflation as a result of that. So they've already raised rates by 325 basis points in the last 8 or 9 months. The predictions right now are that they'll raise it by another 100 basis points or so, which is going to actually result in a situation where the dollar is probably going to continue to strengthen, and the global economy is going to continue to weaken. We have more than ample reserves to be able to deal with this situation. We had $645 billion of foreign exchange reserves. They're at $550 billion right now, and the rupee is finding its own level. And what the RBI is doing, and absolutely correctly so, is ensuring that there is a smooth sort of decline to some extent of the Indian rupee, as opposed to any uncertainty, any high volatility, etc. So you need enough of a cushion to be able to manage that volatility, which is what the RBI has, and has plenty of it going forward. Now, in addition to that, not just about the reserves that we have plenty of, but also in terms of our continued economic strength going forward, we will continue to see strong capital flows. We're expecting $100 billion of gross FDI. Foreign portfolio investment has started to come up again in September. It's been $10 billion positive. And our exports will continue, I think, to gain market share, to continue to be competitive. The professor from the UN said was only focused on merchandise trade. He didn't talk about services, where India is a global leader in services, in IT services, BPO, and a variety of other services. So our services are generating huge capital surpluses, and that's also enabling us to continue to be able to deal with this difficult set of global economic conditions.
Mr. Verma.
You see, I think that there is a system in place in our country, not only because of the current government, but because of successive governments, which allow for, most often than not, competent macro management of the economy. I mean, we are not becoming Sri Lanka, which collapses. Let's agree.
Well, I'm glad that you've made that point, because that's been a narrative quite persistent.
I have written about it, I've spoken about it. It's not that. But I am actually trying to look at what could be improved or what has not improved fast enough, rather than Dr. Basu to paint a picture by which India is the model economy not only of the world but of the cosmos. I mean, we've got to have a sense of perspective. I talk to corporate leaders, and there are factors which are non-economic which also impact the economy. Corporate leaders are generally happy with the government, but they say, but we don't want to invest right now because the situation is too volatile and the punitive powers of the government are too unpredictable. So that's an aspect. I mean, that's an aspect of reality which has an economic impact. As far as the GST is concerned, JNG highlighted it as one of the great achievements. I'm not against the reform, but I maintain that it was badly planned. Perhaps as Jayant was as finance minister, he could have done a better job, but nevertheless, then there are in the corporate world, for which a lot of you on my right speak, there is a feeling that there is a same process of selectivity. I mean, I have been told by them that certain big tenders are drawn up, which by their very nature only one company qualifies. It happens to be a company which is close to the government. So there is this charge of crony capitalism. Then I must confess, that's the elephant in the room, the manner in which decisions of a huge economic impact are made. Demonetization, overnight. The former Prime Minister said, and many supporters of the BJP agree, that it shaved off 2% of the GDP. Then the farming sector. We saw the catastrophe over the farm laws. Again, I'm saying the reforms are not good, were not bad. They were needed. But no process of consultation before they were implemented, which led to breakdown of trust and a trust deficit and so on and so forth. There is also the situation of the current banning of food exports. You give 500 to the farmer as dole and reduce his income by 700 because he can't get the prices for his product. You've got to think through the flight of capital. If not capital, talent. I meet so many young people, Rahul, who are successful entrepreneurs with the best degrees, who say, no, because of the endemic social instability here and the unpredictability of the law enforcers, we rather stay abroad. Na jaane kal humko kya hoga. So this kind of thing is bad. Health and education, a macro economy with the right macro fundamentals should have taken care of it. We spent, Jayant has been involved with the budget. What is the percentage we spent on health and education? Compare it with other countries. I think it's a shame for the country with our kind of problem. So I'm just saying, please use a more objective criteria to draw up a balance sheet. Instead of this greatly euphoric account of where the economy is going, I think it's not appropriate. People who are listening to this program, I know that roughly 20% of the middle class has fallen off that plateau below. I know the number of the poor have increased. So these are factors we must take into account.
Okay.
I'm sure we are not going to go down as an economy.
Okay, final quick comments. Yes. Extreme right.
Yeah, well, I think let's begin with the contention that I have said that India is the most glorious economy in the world. By no means is it the most glorious economy in the world. It simply is currently very well positioned macroeconomically. Of course, we are still a poor country. We are still a low middle income country. There's a lot to be done. There is still a lot to be done to advance this economy and take it forward. But I think, given that there's been a panoply of criticism of virtually anything, let me just also point out that in terms of delivering the basics of a civilized life to the vast majority of India's people, the last 8 years have been a remarkable period. I think it is a disgrace that more than half our people had to defecate in the open. That abomination has been largely dealt with by this government. So the last 8 years have brought that about. Cooking gas at home is something that most people in urban India take for granted. Half of our women in rural India didn't have access to a basic LPG account.
The cylinder, sir?
Oh, well, that is a global problem. It's not just
How
ours.
it becomes global?
You
You
cannot
first
say
raise
I mean, obviously, you have to price things appropriately, and to the extent that the government can
outprice the
afford,
poor.
to the
No, I
extent
think
that the government can afford to subsidize, it subsidizes, and it, in fact, during the COVID period, the subsidies provided were appropriate to ensure that people.
Okay, so it's been a
people
remarkable
didn't die.
period. Mr. Sir, let me paraphrase. He sort of did not mention or didn't give form to the elephants in the room. That could be a threat, to growth, etc., investor confidence. So let's just break these down. And I want your quick response before we wind up. Raid Raj, ED, CBI, adventurism, social tensions that are building up and constantly being written about that some people believe tarnish the India story, the emerging India story, the growing India story, etc. And all of these serve as disincentives when you look at it from a larger perspective. You can talk numbers, but there are other factors at work.
We actually have to talk the numbers,
Yes.
because the media headlines are what people put out who have an agenda or who have to be in the opposition and criticize the government. So that's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, when you actually look at the numbers and you look at the hard facts on the ground, as Dr. Basu was just saying, the lives of the poor have been transformed in terms of basic services. If you look at how competitive our economy is, if you look at the middle class, if you look at people that are integrated into the global economy, and the most important thing for them is how competitive is India now compared to where India was 8 or 10 years ago. That has also been transformed. So if you look at the poor who did not have access to water, did not have access to electricity, did not have access to cooking fuel, all of that has been transformed on the one hand. And on the other hand, when we look at the competitive modern economy that we have to operate so that we can grow and create good jobs for our middle class, that too has been transformed, whether it's through GST, insolvency and bankruptcy code, privatization, opening up of multiple sectors of the economy, reduction of corporate tax rates. All of these have contrived to create a situation where we've got a very competitive economy. That's why our exports are growing both on the merchandise side as well as on the services side, and we are seeing the job growth as we have. I drove into the studio right now, and you look around in Noida or you look around in Gurgaon or any of the very bustling and very buzzing areas of our cities where people are adding jobs, people are exporting around the world and creating high quality middle class lifestyles for our people. So if you look at the performance of the economy, despite everything that we've gone through, overall, I would submit that there are very few other major economies in the world that have done as good a job in the last 10 years, and that's because of the astute policy making of the government, the Honorable Prime Minister, and the decisive and bold steps that our government has taken. You look at the US and see the situation they are in. Look at China and see the situation. Growth is slowing. They've got real problems with COVID. Look at what's happening in the UK. Look at what's happening in the European Union. You look around the world and you see other major economies and how it's positioned, how they are positioned. You look at India and how India is positioned, both in terms of where the poor and the middle class are, as well as the competitive aspects of our economy as. And I think anybody looking at the facts is going to have to conclude this has been a transformational journey.
Look,
Can I say one word in response?
yes.
I began by saying that let's not look at things in black and white. But unfortunately, I was a little surprised because I'm very fond of JNG. He said any criticism is part of political agenda and we don't have to talk about it. If you take this approach,
he actually said it's okay.
Headlines.
It's okay.
No, said that about media headlines.
I'm just saying
there's a lot of rhetoric that comes out, and ultimately, when you have to dispassionately pass that rhetoric, you have to look at the facts and what's actually happening on the
Okay.
ground.
Well, look, let's for a moment step back and focus on the numbers. Now, viewers, even over those, there are debates. The accuracy of numbers, the potency of the number, etc. So, look, we have a situation right now where the only number perhaps we can really go by to gauge sentiment across this country, and some people will fault me for bringing out this analogy, is perhaps the number of votes that people are getting. I don't know. Is that one way of looking at this? Pawan Verma, very quickly, if you are able to fight an election on your economic record and people are voting you back on the basis of that, could you then say that, look, the numbers tell me that I am doing well by the people? Is that a fair assessment?
do not for a moment doubt the democratic legitimacy of the government.
Okay.
I wonder whether it has truly fulfilled the expectations who have voted and expressed confidence.
Okay,
in it.
well, that of course, they also say about expectations that they don't have very many limitations. Now viewers, look, we've had a very interesting debate, and I don't want to color this debate with my opinion here. I leave it to you to decide. We've had a conversation. I hope we can continue these conversations in the manner that we have debated tonight. Thank you very much for watching.
अबे तू
there was a big song and dance about internet being cut. Okay. Now, if you've reached a stage where you say an internet cut is more dangerous than the loss of human lives, then what can I say?
India's illegal and unilateral actions of 5th August 2019 to change the internationally recognized disputed status of Jammu and Kashmir and to alter the demographic structure of the occupied territory further undermined the prospects of peace.
A day after filing his nomination for the election for Congress presidential post, Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge resigned as the leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha. Congress party noted that K.N. Tripathi's nomination form for the Congress presidential polls was rejected after not meeting the norms. They added that the two current contenders include Mallikarjun Kharge and Shashi Tharoor. Congress presidential candidate Shashi Tharoor said that he should vote for Kharge if they are satisfied and with the parties working, but for Tharoor if they want a change. In a major digital upgrade for India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched 5G services. The service is expected to progressively cover the entire country and potentially transform India's digital landscape. Addressing the crowd at the 5G launch event, Prime Minister Modi said that New India will be playing a big role in wireless technology and has added that the government is working on Internet for all. Prior to the launch of 5G services at Pragati Maidan, Prime Minister Modi inspected an exhibition and launched the 6th edition of the Indian Mobile Congress. Mukesh Ambani announced that Reliance Jio is aiming to roll out the 5G services all across the country by December 2023. Well, the Delhi High Court has dismissed a plea by Delhi Minister Satyendra Jain challenging a lower court order to transfer the money laundering case against him to another court. After Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann was slammed for the rising strength in his cavalcade, Aam Aadmi Party has defended him, saying that AAP is following the security protocol. Kerala government has moved the Supreme Court against the Enforcement Department's plea to transfer the trial of sensational gold smuggling case to Bengaluru. A day after filing his nomination for the election for Congress presidential post, Congress leader Mallikarjun Kharge resigned as the leader of opposition in the Rajya Sabha. Congress party noted that K.N. Tripathi's nomination form for the Congress presidential polls was rejected after not meeting the norms. They added that the two current contenders include Mallikarjun Kharge and Shashi Tharoor. Congress presidential candidate Shashi Tharoor said that he should vote for Kharge if they are satisfied and with the party's working, but for Tharoor if they want a change. In a major digital upgrade for India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched 5G services. The service is expected to progressively cover the entire country and potentially transform India's digital landscape. Addressing the crowd at the 5G launch event, Prime Minister Modi said that New India will be playing a big role in wireless technology and has added that the government is working on Internet for all.
The most pressing issues, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में।
नहीं हेमा
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए जी राधे राधे। कल रात की सावन का also become. मथुरा के जो सांसद बनना चाहेंगे उसको तो आप बनने नहीं देंगे। आप दिमाग में सबको ऐसा डाल के रखेंगे फिल्म स्टार ही बनेगा। आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में। नहीं हेमा कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए जी राधे राधे। कल रात की सावन का also become. बहुत अच्छी बात है।
आपका क्या विचार है इस बार? आप
मेरा विचार क्या मैं बताऊं? मेरा विचार भगवान के ऊपर है। लॉर्ड कृष्णा विल डू इट।
मैं तो देश की सेवा के लिए ही पैदा हुई हूँ और मैं देश की सेवा करना चाहती हूँ। और क्यों नहीं हमारे मोदी साहब, हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी चाय बनाते बनाते प्रधानमंत्री जी पीएम बन सकते हैं, तो मैं बॉलीवुड में काम करते करते सीएम क्यों नहीं बन सकती हूँ? डेफिनेटली मैं बनूंगी। आप सबका आशीर्वाद चाहिए। तो 2024 में अब आप मुझे चुनाव लड़ते हुए देखेंगे। किसके अपोजिट? ये सरप्राइज है।
Prior to the launch of 5G services at Pragati Maidan, Prime Minister Modi inspected an exhibition and launched the 6th edition of the Indian Mobile Congress. Mukesh Ambani announced that Reliance Jio is aiming to roll out the 5G services all across the country by December 2023. Well, the Delhi High Court has dismissed a plea by Delhi Minister Satyendra Jain challenging a lower court order to transfer the money laundering case against him to another court. After Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann was slammed for the rising strength in his cavalcade. Aam Aadmi Party has defended him, saying that AAP is following the security protocol. Kerala government has moved the Supreme Court against the Enforcement Department's plea to transfer the trial of sensational gold smuggling case to Bengaluru.
there was a big song and dance about internet being cut. Okay. Now, if you reach a stage where you say an internet cut is more dangerous than the loss of human lives, then what can I say?
India's illegal and unilateral actions of 5th August 2019 to change the internationally recognized disputed status of Jammu and Kashmir and to alter the demographic structure of the occupied territory further undermined the prospects of peace.
News Hour Special Edition.
Good evening, you're watching Times Now. This is the News Hour. My name is Pranesh. Meant to be a joyful celebration, viewers, of the 9 days of Navratri, the Garba stage has this year turned into an arena of conflict and assault, really. From Gujarat to Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh, instances of segregation have been coming to light, where non-Hindus have been isolated, heckled, either for entering with fake IDs or taking videos of Garba. In fact, they've been given a free run as mantris have gone on to justify the segregation as also the vigilantism. This has sparked off a major debate. First, let's take you across to Madhya Pradesh. Yet again in Indore, a Muslim youth was thrashed for attending Garba. He had allegedly entered the event with a fake ID card. Remember, Garba organizers in Madhya Pradesh have restricted entry of non-Hindus in events. Watch how a Muslim youth, after being thrashed, is herded away by men with sticks and saffron staffs, allegedly from the Bajrang Dal. In another instance, Bajrang Dal members forced a non-Hindu shopkeeper to shut shutters. Watch this clip.
हटाना स्टार्ट कीजिए आप।
हाँ ठीक है।
दादा इनकी आईडी का फोटो ले लेंगे। आईडी कार्ड आपकी आईडी अरे कुछ तो फोन में होगा।
वो फोन बच्चा लेके गया था मान लीजिए।
अरे आईडी कुछ तो होगी, आप यहाँ के बिल कुछ भी होगा जिसमें आपका नाम लिखा है। तो बिना आईडी के आपने दुकान कैसे लगा दिया? इनका नाम नाम बताओ आपका।
कलीम खान बोलते क्या?
Now hear how the Garba organizers are getting the backing of politicians who say this segregation is justified and even required.
और मैं कहती हूँ आइडेंटिटी चेक भी किया जाए और मुस्लिम समुदाय के लोगों को वहाँ पर जाने ना दिया जाए। हम हमारी पूजा पद्धति को शुद्ध रखना चाहते हैं, करना चाहते हैं।
और मान लो इतना ही अगर धर्म के प्रति या माँ के प्रति आस्था है तो इन लोगों को एक अलग से गरबा का आयोजन रखना चाहिए। इससे समाज में संदेश भी अच्छा चला जाएगा। एक आयोजन खुद भी करें, बनाएं।
देखिए बहुत ज़रूरी है ये सब चीज़ें, और यदि असामाजिक तत्व आकर वहाँ का वातावरण, धार्मिक वातावरण को अगर गंदा करते हैं तो मैं समझता हूँ इसके लिए आयोजकों को उसकी चिंता करना चाहिए।
लव जिहाद एक बड़ी मुसीबत था राष्ट्र की, इसीलिए तो उस पर कानून हमें बनाना पड़ा। हम लोगों ने ये आग्रह किया है कि किसी भी गरबा पंडाल में बिना आईडी के किसी को प्रवेश नहीं मिले, और कोई दूसरे लोग भी आना चाहते हैं तो वो अपनी पत्नी, माँ, बेटी इनको साथ लेकर आए।
The opposition has lashed out at the BJP and the Hindu groups over this segregation.
देखिए गुजरात में जो ये हुआ है इसमें मैं समझता हूँ हमारे जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री साहब हैं उनको इस पे कुछ बोलना चाहिए। उनका स्टेट है, गुजरात में गरबा है, उसमें मुसलमान लोग उसमें जाते हैं, भाईचारगी मतलब फ्रेंडशिप के लिए जाते हैं। कुछ सालों से जो इंटॉलरेंस बढ़ गया इंडिया में, इस तरह की घटनाएं बढ़ती जा रही है। और मैंने कल भी बोला था ये बजरंग दल वाले, विश्व हिंदू परिषद और पता नहीं क्या प्रवीण भाई तगड़िया इंटरनेशनल पता नहीं क्या क्या बना लिया, जगह जगह आके ये लोग शांति भंग करने के लिए इस तरह की कुछ हरकत करते हैं।
पूजा और आराधना का मामला है, इसमें किसी को कैसे रोकोगे आप? कल से कहोगे कि मंदिर आना है तो कार्ड लेके आओ, तो ये इसका कोई औचित्य नहीं है।
कोई भी धर्म का धर्मावलंबी किसी भी धर्म के प्रति यदि आदर करता है और यदि उसकी निगाह और दृष्टि साफ है तो उसे रोकना नहीं चाहिए। अब ये सरकार का सोचना है कि कानून व्यवस्था को लेकर क्या करती है।
Garba is a traditional dance of Gujarat and it is long before any love jihad was spoken about. From Kerala we understand that there is nothing like love jihad. It is a fraud. This is not in the interest of our country. Now you've heard the reactions. Let's quickly open this up. Joining us, Anand Ranganathan.
author needs no introduction really. Sriraj Naya, the national spokesperson of the VHP. Shashank Shekhar Jain is an advocate. Rahul Ishwar, activist. Professor Atikur Rahman, political analyst. Professor Dinesh Varshney, a leader of CPI, completes the panel. Dr. Ranganathan, I know you are in a hurry, sir. You don't have much time here, so I'll start with you. What is your take on the Garba controversy?
Two issues as I see it. Number one, as you know, Hindus and Hinduism is very open. I was about to say very open religion, but I'm not sure whether it is religion at all or not. It's a way of life as I see it. And anybody is welcome to participate. In fact, there are a lot of foreigners who come and participate in a lot of our festivals, and Hindus, Muslims, Christians, they all participate. So there I'm with you, and I'm with anyone who wants non-Hindus to also participate in Hindu festivals. I think the more the merrier, and that is how Hinduism is always been. So I think nobody should stop non-Hindus from participating in Garbas. It is a celebration. It does have a religious connotation, and this is where I come to the second point. If it is deemed to have a religious connotation, and I think it does, Navratris, then some respect has to be shown to Hindu deities while celebrating this festival. Likewise is the case in Diwali. I mean, anybody can burst crackers, but if you're doing a puja, then you have to show reverence towards it. Otherwise, it's your choice to not do it. So that's number one. Number two, specifically as far as Muslims is concerned, of course, they are most welcome to celebrate the Garba. But at the same time, you also have to see that Islam, preordains total lack of worshipping of any other deity except Allah. In fact, at 4062 it says no one has the right to be worshipped but Allah. So it is very clear that no God other than Allah is to be worshipped or bowed before. In fact, if you remember, Waris Pathan, who is AIMIM MLA, at that point of time chanted Ganpati Bappa Boria. He had to publicly apologize for that. And there have been so many cases. Vande Mataram is just one instance of that. Islam completely forbids. So this is a one-way street as far as Hindus and Muslims are aware of that, and Muslims are reverential towards Hindu deities, at the same time celebrating it. I see no reason why non-Hindus should not celebrate.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Ranganathan, for setting it up. Really, I know you've to go, so we'll let you go. But thank you for joining us on the News Hour. Let's open this up now. Rahul Ishwar, you heard Dr. Ranganathan. How do you see this?
I'm a huge admirer of Anand Ranganathan ji, and I would like to remind that Vande Mataram was again chanted by entire India and especially new generation because of a person whose name was Allah Rakha Rahman. It was A.R. Rahman who made us sing. It was a Rasool Pukuti in the Oscar stage who said, I come from the land of Omkara. The larger point is every culture is syncretic and synergetic. This is the greatness of Hindu culture. This is the greatness of what we call Arsha Bharata Sanskriti. So this synergetic, syncretic mode should be there. Look at what our PM Modi ji said. PM Modi ji said at the untimely death of my father's close friend, he brought his father, Modi ji's father brought Abbas to his home. And during every Eid, my mother prepared his favorite dishes. See, this is what India is. This is the synergetic culture. And as a proud Hindu activist, let me unequivocally condemn the violence on those Muslim boys. That is absolutely unacceptable. Hope that violent action will be met with some kind of a police action. Second, if anybody has any complaints, anybody has any queries, they are free to approach police. They are free to approach court for a legal action. Nobody has a right to take law into their hand. Nobody can go for violence. That is absolutely unacceptable. Please remember, where the place I come from, Kerala, we have one of the holiest of Hindu shrines, Shabarimala. There is a mini mosque inside Shabarimala, and on the way to Shabarimala we have a Vavar mosque and a temple where inside the Hindu temple there is no idol kept for Vavar, Ayyappa's close Muslim friend, because it is haram for Vavar. So Ayyappa decided, if I have to respect my friend Vavar, I will do in that way which is halal to Vavar. This is the syncretic, synergetic culture. All our Hindu historical personalities, avatars, or Swami Vivekananda and Mahatma Gandhi, Maulana Azad did. Just one last line. We all celebrate Christmas. Does that mean that we are all becoming Christians? Every festival has a spiritual element, a cultural element. while the spiritual element will be more deemed towards the faithful, the cultural element should be celebrated by all. And India's best Christmas Eve celebration happens in Swami Vivekananda's Belur Mutt, where Holy Jesus and Holy Mother Mary's picture are doing arati and puja by Hindu saints who are saffron clad. Anyway, I am not a greater Hindu than Vivekananda, so I cannot take much more things than Vivekananda. So this is what makes India Vishwaguru. This synergetic, syncretic culture is what makes it Vishwaguru. If there are anti-social elements, they can complain to police. But let us not take law into our hand, beat up Muslim brothers, bring shame to India, and bring down the stature of the land of Mahatma Gandhi and Swami Vivekananda.
Okay, now let's hear from Mr. Sriraj Nair, the national spokesperson of the VHP. Mr. Nair, you've heard two speakers, Dr. Ranganathan, Rahul Ishwar. What is your take, sir, on the controversy that is raging in not just Madhya Pradesh but across at least three states?
Very easy to well, we work on the ground and we know the reality much more than people who don't work on the ground. Here now you played the statement of the Honorable Home Minister of Madhya Pradesh. What he said, he rightly said, if you want to come to the Durga Pandal, why don't you accompany your sisters? Why don't you come with your mothers? Why don't you come with your daughters? Why you come alone, and that too with a fake identity? Why all these things is happening in the last few years? We have seen these people coming in and trying to do a lot of mischievous things with the Hindu girls, and that is the only reason that the Garba Pandals have awakened and they have stopped the entry. Second thing, when idol worship is a haram for Muslims, why and there is a Durga idol, there is Aarti before the Garba starts. I have lived in Gujarat for 20 years. I know what Garba is all about. Before the start of the Garba, there is Aarti performed, and when the Garba is over, that time also there is Aarti which is performed. And Islam also forbids music. Islam also forbids dance. Islam forbids photography, videography. Why are they taking a photography of the girls? And that too, what kind of obscene things they are doing. So rightly the organizers, if they have put an embargo or if they have debarred this jihadis from entering the pandals, they are absolutely right. Only and if some of them have beaten up, they have asked for it. These people should not enter.
No, Mr. Sriraj Nair, Mr. Nair, sir. No, 1 minute. Sriraj Nair, 1 minute. Hold your thoughts. 1 minute. You are saying those people who've been beaten up asked for it. Are you justifying vigilantism, sir? Vigilante justice? If you have a problem with someone who's entered the pandal that you don't want him to, approach the police, hand him over.
See, when you repeatedly warn somebody, when these things are going on, even in the past also we have warned, this kind of people with fake identity should not enter the Garba Pandals. They should understand. So there will be people who will get agitated, who will be angry on them.
So Mr. Nair, you are a reasonable man, sir. You've been on many debates here.
So they ask for it, that's what, and we are on media and saying if they enter, they will be beaten up by Bajrang Dal.
No, what is this? Where are we?
Very clear.
Is the country not run by constitution, sir? What is this attitude that if somebody enters, will be beaten up?
They should not enter our pandal. It is not a picnic spot. It is not a beach. It is our Mataji's festival. It is Durga Mata festival. It is directly related to our culture, our religion, and our puja paddhati. They are not, and why they come when they don't believe.
Okay, now before I bring in Atikur Rahman, Rahul Ishwar,
is haram, when dancing is haram, what are they coming for?
Okay, I'm getting Professor Rahman on that, but Rahul Ishwar responding to you.
Is photography not haram? Is videography not haram? Is music not haram in Islam? Then why are they entering? What is their intention?
I really respect Nair sir, but along with that, I would like to submit some of the best artists in India are belong to our Muslim community, whether it is Shah Rukh Khan, Salman Khan, Amir Khan, and one of the great. If music is haram, how can we have Muhammad Rafi? Yes, there are certain strands of Islam.
So let them declare that they are doing haram. Let them declare they are not Muslims. And their ancestors converted, so let them accept that they are doing haram.
We should not give air to the hardline Islamist Wahhabi interpretation in the world.
But what I am saying, as per their books,
As per their books, what they say, that music is haram in
Holy Quran.
And in Kerala, Rahul ji, you are in Kerala, you know many Maulvis openly saying.
Yes, just one line. But we should support moderate Maulavis. We should support moderate Muslims. There are crazy crackpots in every faith. We too have people like Satvi Prasi.
See, we cannot be guinea pigs. Rahul, we cannot be guinea pigs. Enough of this.
Just one submission.
Enough of this. We cannot be guinea pigs.
Just one submission. I totally respect your proud and vigor to protect Hindu culture. I am totally with it. Just one submission. We have one of our greatest singers, Muhammad Rafi. Muhammad Rafi, music is not haram. Allah Rakha Rahman or A.R. Rahman, who is a really believing Muslim, who has understood the tenets of Islam.
But there people say
music composer who won Oscar award for India. Yes, there are hardline Islamist, Wahhabi oriented, extremist people in Muslim community. Nobody is supporting them. They should be alienated. But we should not encourage this hardline Salafi, Wahhabi, Islamist interpretation saying that is what Holy Quran says.
Rahul,
Holy
Mujahid
Quran,
Balusheri from Kerala, what he has said? What he has said on music? Mujahid Balusheri from Kerala, your own state, what he says about music? No, Mr. Sriraj Nair, let me ask you this, sir. When someone says, Gustakhe Rasool ki ek hi saza, sir, tan se juda, we condemn it. That is vigilantism. You can't take law in your hands. Don't we? And who this is this? Is Gustakhe Rasool ke
No, because you said those people who were beaten up asked for it.
Garba pandal with a fake
Mr.
identity.
Nair, like I said, sir, you are a reasonable man. I know, I don't understand.
And why are they not accompanying their sisters and daughters?
If somebody does not have a sister, can't enter the pandal.
See, you heard the Honorable
Nair.
Home Minister of Madhya Pradesh. There have been 8 arrests, and it is the minister has done the right job. The police has done the right job.
Okay, Atikur Rahman,
by arresting them.
How do you see this?
Here nobody is chopping their neck.
Well, Pranesh, let me first of all thank Mr. Rahul Ishwar for presenting before your audience and listeners the true picture of India. This is the real India wherein all people cohabit, celebrate and dance together to the tunes of the Indian festivals. These festivals are Indian festivals, not only, just for one religion. As Rahul said, I completely endorse it. Now what Mr. Sriraj Nair is doing is, he is having a prejudiced mind wherein he wants to portray a particular people which are orthodox in their views. Nowhere in Islam it's a complete ban on either music, art or these festivals. Even dance is permitted. The only condition is, while doing any of these activities, please let me complete,
issued by Deoband that music and dance is haram.
No, not just that, Atikur Rahman. While I agree with you largely, not just that, I just want to add to what Sriraj Nair said. No, 1 minute. While I agree with you in principle, Professor Rahman, I must tell you that it's not just the fatwa that was issued that Mr. Nair is talking about. Let's not forget what happened in the Eidgah Maidan around Ganesh Chaturthi. So there is also that. So, let's not just jump the gun.
Selective, boss.
Pranesh, we need to fight orthodoxy. We need to fight the even political elements within our community who are trying to, draw mileage out of all this. Now, who all are speaking? You look at the people. Mr. Sriraj Nair, the Chief Minister or the Home Minister of Madhya Pradesh, they are all known to be Islamophobic people. Round the year, they come up with such issues to divide Hindus and Muslims, to divide the aspect of that India which we realize that are we living in two Indias, one of Rahul Ishwar and one of Sriraj Nair? That's what we need to
why
fight
didn't you
for.
allow Ganpati Puja in Eidgah Maidan? Why you want us to be guinea pigs?
Of religious
Atikur Rahman, then you ask your people.
That's your sectarian approach, sir. Please remove the glasses of a prejudiced mind, and you will see that Indians are very secular in their approach. That secular which you do not endorse. For you, secularism is having no
Okay,
meaning.
Shashank Shekhar Jha.
You do not go by the secular
Okay, Mr.
aspect
Jha now coming
of
in.
our
Now 1 minute.
constitution.
Professor Saab, 1 minute. Professor Rahman, Mr. Jha coming in.
Namaste to everyone. See, since I am speaking at the last, I will take the liberty to speak on length. Now, the problem number one is that if those people who despise Hindu culture, Hinduism, or for that point Hindutva comes to Garba, or for that point any of the Hindu religious program, I think that should be completely banned. Because you cannot have, on one hand you will be despising Hinduism in totality, and on the other hand you will be celebrating Ma Durga, which is a core deity of Hindu religion. Point number two, when you are comparing that point on this show, it is being compared that Sir Tanse Juda. I will just give you an example that had this been a debate on any of the Islamic scripture rather than a Hindu religious celebration, I am very much sure that there would be Sir Tanse Juda rally across country. So you cannot compare this.
No, I was not comparing. Mr. Jha, I think you got me wrong there. I was not comparing. The limited point that I was trying to make by giving you that example is that when slogans like Sir Tanse Juda are uttered, all of us come together, take a stand that vigilante justice is not right. That was the limited point that I was trying to make. But go ahead, make the point. Yes.
So, but then the problem is that Sir Tanse Juda rally do not just restrict themselves to that rally itself, but then they are actually beheading going on in this country and across the globe. Now, as far as this Garba agitation is concerned, you will not see any Hindu going and chopping someone's hand or something like that. So that is also one of those things that, as in Rahul ji is very much devotee of Mahatma Gandhi, who have given us this liberty of civil disobedience, or for that point, to fight something through non-violence. I guess it is the right of Hindus that they are fighting against it. And third point which I wanted to make on this show was that if you are not allowing Hindu festivals in general, for example, you are not allowing Ganesh Chaturthi on a public in Karnataka, or for that point you saying that no, we will not allow Kashi, Mathura and Ayodhya to go back to Hindu, in despite of the fact that it is mentioned in Vedas, or for that point you are saying that we will not allow Vande Mataram because it depicts India as a goddess, and then you are saying that no, but we want to attend Garba or Dandiya for that point,
okay,
and that too while hiding your identity.
Right. Professor Dinesh Varshne, I give you the last word on the show.
Look, Pranesh, this is very unfortunate that the BJP leaders in Madhya Pradesh as well as in the country have only one agenda: the communalization of everything. The cultural festivals with religious backgrounds or religious festivals are meant for unity of the community, the unity of the society. It is not now only now, even from ancient times. Whether it is the mother goddess wishes of the Isis in Egypt, or Mesopotamia, or India, or Mehergarh, or anywhere. Since them, it is a cultural festival where everybody participated. Now they have only one agenda: to divide the society in one or the other way. Because the Madhya Pradesh is one of the most poorest performer in the matter of giving employment. Corruption is highest. So they wanted to divert the national attention.
Too many things, Professor Varshne. I have heard all sides, and I would like to say this: the controversy, viewers, around the Garba festivities has assumed a communal tone. Now, as a rule of thumb, the state or its functionaries at all levels cannot be seen to be favoring one community over the other. As such, the state or its functionaries are obligated to uphold constitutional values and therefore cannot endorse or call for any announcement calling for the exclusion of Muslims from Garba festivities. Second, for Garba organizers to dispense violence on members of the Muslim community who are either at Garba events or in the vicinity of Garba events is to take the law into their own hands. Vigilantism, viewers, has no place in our society, and those indulging in it must be booked and punished by the police. And third, checking ID cards in the name of security is fine so long as the organizers are not using the exercise to profile festival goers of one community and keep them from participating in Garba celebrations. Last but certainly not the least, organizers of Garba celebrations that have booked public grounds
cannot impose restrictions on entry on the basis of identity, while people can impose restrictions in private events on private lands. This right does not extend to enforcing segregation in shared public spaces. I thank all of you, Sriraj Nair, Shashank Shekhar Jha, Rahul Ishwar, Professor Atikur Rahman, Professor Dinesh Varshni for joining us on debate number 1 on the News Hour.
The News Hour Special Edition. Hour Special Edition.
The Kerala government, viewers, has moved the Supreme Court against Enforcement Directorate's plea to transfer the trial of the sensational gold smuggling scandal to Bangalore in Karnataka. The state government says that the transfer is allowed on the basis of allegations now raised. It will have an adverse effect on the governance of the state. The government's move comes at a time when the Supreme Court is all set to hear ED's plea on October 10th. Remember, the state government has submitted that the ED has made allegations against tall political officers in the state. It claims many of the documents produced, especially the statements of the accused, have no bearing on the pending matter. The agency had said that free and fair trial of the case is not possible in Kerala due to the close nexus between the accused and the top officials.
Mentioned that as a common woman, as an accused, I just feel this itself shows a high level of conspiracy. Why wouldn't the Kerala government want it to be moved to Bangalore? What is the issue? The investigation should go on, and it should go on in the proper way. And me being an accused, also stand along with ED because we felt, or I myself personally felt, that there had been a lot of interferences from the higher authorities of the government of Kerala during the investigation time, because there had been a lot of interferences. There had been a lot of threats towards me during this investigation period. There were a lot of forces. They made me do voice recordings, favoring the government, favoring the other accused.
This was Swapna Suresh, who alleges that there is a problem and the state government, obviously for reasons well known, does not want an independent probe. She is alleging a bid to sabotage the probe. Let's open this up. Actually, Sanju Verma, the national spokesperson of the BJP, is with us, and Professor Dinesh Varshni, who was supposed to square off against Sanju Verma, has suddenly now said that he can't appear because he was unhappy with the time he got on the last debate. So, Sanju Verma, you know, this happens sometimes, but the BJP has really taken objection to the state government filing a plea in the Supreme Court. The BJP says this is an attempt to subvert and sabotage the probe.
You know, Pranesh, the most important thing to note here is that there are two scams which point direct or indirect fingers at the current left government led by Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan. One, of course, is the infamous gold scam, and one is the Life Mission scam. Life Mission was supposed to be a project to give homes to the poor, but what happened was siphoning off of funds by the high and mighty within the current left regime in Kerala. You know, I just want to say one thing. Point number A, the ED on the 21st of July this year asked that the probe of both Life Mission and gold scam should be shifted from Kerala to Karnataka. Now, why did the ED ask for this? I think the reason is very simple. If you look at the statement given by Swapna Suresh, the key accused, and now she's turned a hostile witness as well. She gave a statement under section 164 of the CRPC to a special magistrate, so it cannot be dismissed. She clearly said that the key people involved in the gold scam and Life Mission scam are Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan, his wife Kamala, his daughter Veena, ex-principal secretary to Pinarayi Vijayan, M. Shivshankar, ex-office secretary in the Pinarayi Vijayan office, Mr. Ravindran, and ex-chief secretary to Pinarayi Vijayan, a lady called Nalini Netto. So the point I'm trying to make is, when you have the chief minister's office and people close to him, his kith and kin, imagine the principal secretary, let me rephrase that, ex-principal secretary M. Shivshankar, who was eventually suspended and dismissed only when there was too much of incontrovertible evidence against him. Otherwise, Mr. Vijayan had been supporting him all throughout, saying Mr. Shivshankar is innocent, Nalini Netto is innocent, my office secretary Mr. Ravindran is innocent. You know, when there were too many smoking guns which could not be ignored, Mr. Vijayan was forced to disassociate himself from his erstwhile close confidants. Given the situation that has emerged with the high and mighty in the Chief Minister's office being involved in the gold scam and the life mission scam, it is only natural that the Enforcement Directorate, in the fitting scheme of things, asked the court to transfer the case from Kerala to Karnataka. And don't forget that Swapna Suresh, after she was put in a jail in Thiruvananthapuram and then shifted to the custody of Customs Department, she also said that there was a threat to her life, and some prison officials told her that the threat came directly from the Chief Minister's office, and she was asked not to cooperate with the central investigating agencies, namely the Enforcement Directorate in this case. Given the kind of murky situation, I mean, it is only common sense that the Enforcement Directorate would have, and indeed it eventually did, ask for the case to be transferred from Kerala to Karnataka.
Verma, how do you respond to the charge from the left and the Kerala government that the ED is not being fair in conducting this investigation, that the center is actually misusing agencies to go after the Chief Minister and his associates in this case?
You know, that's a very important question, and I'll just answer without getting into ifs and buts. You are aware, Pranesh, that on the 27th of July this year, the Supreme Court, and while there is a plea which needs to be heard, as of date, the Supreme Court had clearly said that the Enforcement Directorate under Section 7, 9, 14, 17, 19, what have you, has the right to conduct a probe without even giving the FIR, or in this case the ECIR copy. Just telling somebody why a probe is being conducted verbally is good enough, and the Enforcement Directorate does not have to prove that the accused is guilty. The biggest decision by the Supreme Court was that the accused has to prove that he or she is innocent. So in a manner of speaking, the Supreme Court actually empowered the Enforcement Directorate in its judgment dated 27 July this year. And for the opposition to now turn back and say that the Enforcement Directorate has no credibility is like saying, Ulta chor kotwal ko dante. Chori upar se sina chori. And I just want to end by saying one thing. In any case, I think the most important thing are the witnesses. The key witness in this case is Swapna Suresh. And I want to ask the Chief Minister, Mr. Vijayan, you know, till Swapna Suresh turned into a hostile witness, the Chief Minister was vouching for her credibility. That is the reason he gave Swapna Suresh a job in the Karnataka State Information Technology Department. How is it that after she turned into a hostile witness, suddenly Mr. Pinarayi Vijayan feels that Swapna Suresh's voice has no credibility whatsoever?
Well, the ED and the Kerala government have both filed pleas in the Supreme Court. Let's see how this unfolds. Sanju Verma, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us on the News Hour. We're taking a short break, viewers. Lots more lined up on the other side. Please stay with Times Now.
The News Hour Special Edition.
Will it book? The most pressing issue, the most informed minds, free and fair exchange. Converse India with Rahul Shivshankar.
आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में।
नहीं हेमा मालिनी
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त चाहिए जी राधे कल रात की सावन का सांसद बनना चाहेंगे उसको तो आप बनने नहीं देंगे।
नहीं, आप
दिमाग में सबको ऐसा डाल के रखेंगे फिल्म स्टार ही बनेगा। आपको सब फिल्म स्टार ही चाहिए मथुरा में।
नहीं हेमा मालिनी
कन्हैया जी ने भक्त जयंती जी कल रात की सावन का बहुत अच्छी बात है।
आपका क्या विचार है इस बार? आप
मेरा विचार क्या मैं बताऊं? मेरा विचार भगवान के ऊपर है। लॉर्ड कृष्णा विल डू इट।
मैं तो देश की सेवा के लिए ही पैदा हुई हूँ और मैं देश की सेवा करना चाहती हूँ। और क्यों नहीं, हमारे मोदी साहब, हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी चाय बनाते बनाते प्रधानमंत्री जी पीएम बन सकते हैं, तो मैं बॉलीवुड में काम करते करते सीएम क्यों नहीं बन सकती हूँ? डेफिनेटली मैं बनूंगी। आप सबका आशीर्वाद चाहिए। तो 2024 में अब आप मुझे चुनाव लड़ते हुए देखेंगे। किसके अपोजिट, ये सरप्राइज है।
Welcome back. Here some breaking inputs we are tracking this minute. Two accused have been nabbed. This is in the Kandivali firing. Both accused hailed from Gujarat. Remember, late last night, two bite-born men had opened fire. The firing incident took place in Mumbai's Kandivali. Two people had died. Three had sustained injuries in this firing. Now we have been told that the police has cracked down and two people have been nabbed from Gujarat. Shivani is now joining us for more on this. Yes, Shivani.
Well, interestingly, we have seen that how both of them have been caught from Gujarat. So immediately after this particular incident of firing, they went to the closest nearby station, that is Borivali, and from there they took a train towards Gujarat, and two of the crime branch officers had also followed them till Gujarat and finally had a court over them. And it is being said that during the festival of Dahi Handi, all of these youngsters had indulged into a fight, and after that particularly, that fight continued. We have also witnessed that earlier also there was one round of firing that took place. One of the accused had attacked one of those four victims in this matter, but today at 12:15 a.m. last night, the firing took place where the four rounds took place, and one person immediately died at the spot, whereas other 3 got seriously injured. In fact, out of those 3, particularly 2 of them are still battling to their lives, and the police have clearly informed that this is just a personal rivalry. And also earlier when they had indulged into a fight, particularly in Kandivali premises itself, police had warned all of these accused in this matter, but still they repeated, and hence the arrest has been made. Strict action will be taken. Tomorrow both of them will be produced before the special court here in Mumbai, that is Holiday Court, and then they will be granted a police custody, where we are understanding that more of the arrest will be taking place, and more brief with regards to their personal rivalry will be revealed before the cops.
All right, Shivani, thanks for joining us with that quick update. We move on, viewers, to more breaking inputs coming in. This is from Kanpur in Uttar Pradesh. A tractor trolley full of devotees overturned. 6 people have lost their lives. This is a developing story. More than 24 people have sustained injuries. This has created a stir. The police, according to the local police station, according to the information by the locals who are at the spot, the police teams have reached. Rescue operation is going on. People had gone to Unnao village in Kortha, and this happened near Gaushala of Sat town. First pictures being played out on Times Now. In fact, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has taken note of this. He has also put out a tweet, and I am reading it now. जनपद कानपुर में हुई सड़क दुर्घटना अत्यंत हृदय विदारक है। जिला अधिकारी एवं वरिष्ठ अधिकारियों को तत्काल मौके पर पहुंचकर युद्ध स्तर पर राहत व बचाव कार्य संचालित करने तथा घायलों के समुचित उपचार की व्यवस्था करने के निर्देश दिए गए हैं। The Chief Minister now seized of this. He has asked the top officials of the district administration to reach the spot and has ordered rescue operations on war footing. Amir Haq now joining us for more on this. Amir, tragedy in which 6 people have lost their lives, many more have suffered injuries. All right, we'll go to Amir in just a bit, but taking a short break, viewers. Lots more lined up on the News Hour. Stay with us.
The News Hour Special Edition.
अबे तू
there was a big song and dance about internet being cut. Okay. Now, if you've reached a stage where you say an internet cut is more dangerous than the loss of human lives, then what can I say?
India's illegal and unilateral actions of 5th August 2019 to change the internationally recognized disputed status of Jammu and Kashmir and to alter the demographic structure of the occupied territory further undermined the prospects of peace.
Prior to the launch of 5G services at Pragati Maidan, Prime Minister Modi inspected an exhibition and launched the 6th edition of the Indian Mobile Congress. Mukesh Ambani announced that Reliance Jio is aiming to roll out the 5G services all across the country by December 2023. Well, the Delhi High Court has dismissed a plea by Delhi Minister Satyendra Jain challenging a lower court order to transfer the money laundering case against him to another court. After Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann was slammed for the rising strength in his cavalcade, Aam Aadmi Party has defended him, saying that AAP is following the security protocol. Kerala government has moved the Supreme Court against the Enforcement Department's plea to transfer the trial of sensational gold smuggling case to Bengaluru.
Thank you very much for joining me on Times Now and Times Now नवभारत। पृथ्वीराज चौहान जी, क्या कहूं मैं आपसे, कांग्रेस के अध्यक्ष का चुनाव इतना दिलचस्प हो सकता था, लेकिन अंत में जो अब नजारा दिख रहा है, ऐसा लगता है फिक्स्ड मैच ये शुरू से ही था। खड़गे जी अगर कांग्रेस पार्टी के टॉप फैमिली, गांधी फैमिली के रिप्रेजेंटेटिव नहीं हैं, तो और क्या है?
देखिए नाविका जी, कांग्रेस का चुनाव 22 साल के बाद पहली बार हो रहा है और कांग्रेस का चुनाव कोई मीडिया एंटरटेनमेंट के लिए नहीं होता है। तो आपकी शायद निराशा हुई होगी, कोई खून नहीं बहा, कोई कुर्सियां नहीं टूटी। लेकिन देखिए, आप समझिए कि 22 साल के बाद ये घटना घट रही है। पहली बार कांग्रेस को एक फुल टाइम कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट मिलेगा और चुनाव के माध्यम से मिलेगा। क्या 22 साल में आपने कभी देखा है कांग्रेस पार्टी में वोट डालकर चुनाव हुआ है और कांग्रेस का चयन हुआ है? तो ये अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी बात है। अब आपके लिए शायद एंटरटेनमेंट वैल्यू ज्यादा ना हो, लेकिन कांग्रेस पार्टी मजबूती की तरफ अग्रसर हो रही है, ये तो आपको स्वीकार करना पड़ेगा।
चौहान साहब, मीडिया को कोई एंटरटेनमेंट की जरूरत नहीं है, ना आपको ऐसा सोचना चाहिए कि हम लोग खून बहाने में बहुत दिलचस्पी रखते हैं। हमारा ऐसा कोई इरादा नहीं है। लेकिन आप G23 के खुद सदस्य रहे हैं, चेंज की मांग आपने की थी। आपने कहा था कि बदलाव इस कदर आना चाहिए कि कांग्रेस पार्टी और मजबूत हो। अब ये चेंज कौन सा चेंज है जहां 80 साल के मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे आकर कांग्रेस के अध्यक्ष बनेंगे और कुछ नया इस तरह से मोड़ देंगे कांग्रेस पार्टी की पॉलिटिक्स को कि शायद उसका फ्यूचर कुछ बदले?
देखिए नाविका जी, आप कुछ शब्द मेरे मुंह में मत डालिए। जब अगस्त 2020 में हमने खत लिखा था, इसका कारण ये था कि राहुल जी ने अचानक अपने पद से इस्तीफा दिया था और 1 साल से एक अंतरिम व्यवस्था चल रही थी। उस समय हमने सोनिया जी से मिलने की गुजारिश की, लेकिन मुलाकात नहीं हो सकी। महीने भर रुकने के बाद हमने एक गोपनीय पत्र लिखा था। ये आप ध्यान से सुनिए कि इट वॉज ए कॉन्फिडेंशियल लेटर, और 23 लोगों ने लिखा था जो सीनियर लोग थे। बाकी हमने कहा कि भी आप रहने दीजिए, फॉर्मर मिनिस्टर्स, फॉर्मर वर्किंग कमेटी मेंबर्स, फॉर्मर चीफ मिनिस्टर लिखेंगे। लेकिन लेटर लिखने के बाद वो अचानक प्रकट हो गया, किसी ने उसको लीक कर दिया। अगर हमें लीक करना होता तो हम शायद प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस लेके ही लेटर आप सबके सामने प्रस्तुत करते। लेकिन उसके बाद वर्किंग कमेटी हुई, कुछ लोगों ने कहा ये तो बगावत है, इस तरह से कैसे आप लेटर लिख सकते हैं, क्या कर सकते हैं। लेकिन सोनिया जी समझ गई कि ऐसी कोई बात नहीं थी। उन्होंने कुछ दिन के बाद, 3-4 महीने के बाद हमें सबको बुलाया। 19 लोगों की एक बैठक, प्रदीर्घ बैठक हुई, 5 घंटे 10 जनपद में हमारी बैठक हुई। कोविड तो था ही, तो दूर दूर बैठ के हमने बात की। हमारे दिल में जो भी कुछ विचार थे कांग्रेस पार्टी को मजबूत करने के लिए, हमने सब अपने विचार रखे। हमें रखने का पूरा मौका मिला 5 घंटे तक। और उस मीटिंग के पश्चात सोनिया जी ने स्वीकार किया कि हम तुरंत एक शिविर करेंगे और कांग्रेस पार्टी के चुनाव होगा और कांग्रेस पार्टी का अध्यक्ष चुनाव के द्वारा उसका चयन होगा। लेकिन फिर भी उस सारी प्रक्रिया में 2021 निकल गया और 2022 में वो प्रक्रिया फिर आगे चली। उदयपुर का शिविर हुआ और तुरंत कुछ देर बाद उन्होंने ब्लॉक लेवल से, जो हमारी चुनावी प्रक्रिया हमेशा रहती है, वहाँ से वो प्रक्रिया शुरू हुई। और कुछ देर के बाद जब चुनावी प्रक्रिया ब्लॉक की खत्म हो गई, तब कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष के चुनाव की घोषणा कर दी गई, कार्यक्रम घोषित हुआ। उसी समय तुरंत हमने सोनिया गांधी का, कांग्रेस अध्यक्षा का धन्यवाद व्यक्त किया था कि हमारी जो सिर्फ 2 मांगे थी, फुल टाइम कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट और इलेक्टेड कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट, आपने मान ली है। बाकी सब ये रिफॉर्म्स वगैरह की बात, ये आपकी बात है। हमारा लेटर अभी भी पढ़िए, उसमें यही 2 बातें कही हैं जो स्वीकार हुई थी, जो मैं समझता हूं कि अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है, क्योंकि ये चुनाव 22 साल के बाद हो रहे हैं।
लेकिन पृथ्वीराज चौहान जी, अब आप पूरा जो घटनाक्रम है उसको देखिए। लुक एट द टर्न ऑफ इवेंट्स। अशोक गहलोत जी का नाम सामने आता है, वो अपना अध्यक्ष पद का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए फॉर्म भी लेते हैं, और फिर एक तमाशा होता है राजस्थान में। राजस्थान के तमाशे में पूरे कांग्रेस के हाई कमांड को जिस तरह से नीचा दिखाया जाता है, वो एक बात। दूसरी तरफ अशोक गहलोत जी ये सब करने के बाद दिल्ली आते हैं, उनके हाथ में एक पत्र होता है कि एसपी यानी कि सचिन पायलट, मतलब सबको समझ आ रहा है एसपी पार्टी छोड़ देंगे। वो तो पार्टी पहले भी छोड़ना चाहते थे, लेकिन उनको उम्मीद किसने दिलाई थी? हाईकमांड ने दिलाई थी। फिर आते हैं अशोक गहलोत यहां और कहते हैं मैं आहत हूं, जिस तरह से चीजें हुई माफी मांगता हूं, और फिर वो वापस मुख्यमंत्री की कुर्सी पर विराजमान हो जाते हैं। और यहां पर जो कांग्रेस अध्यक्षता का है, कभी दिग्विजय सिंह जी आते हैं, फिर वो एक फिक्स्ड फ्रेंडली मैच होता है, फिर खड़गे जी आते हैं। ये चल क्या रहा है? ये सिलेक्शन है या इलेक्शन है या फ्रेंडली फाइट है या बस सिर्फ कांग्रेस के अंदर का कंफ्यूजन है जो पूरा देश देख रहा है?
देखिए, ये फ्रेंडली फाइट पिछले 22 साल से नहीं हो सका था। ये फ्रेंडली फाइट हो रहा है। पहले आपने राजस्थान की घटनाओं का उल्लेख किया। एक तो मेरा राजस्थान की घटनाओं से कोई वैसे डायरेक्ट कोई संबंध नहीं है, लेकिन मैं आपको फिर से बताना चाहूँगा कि जब भी कोई राज्य के नेतृत्व में बदलाव की बात होती है तो हमारी टाइम ऑनर्ड पद्धति है कि कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष वहाँ के जनरल सेक्रेटरी और एक आध सीनियर आदमी को भेजती है। उन्होंने लोकल लीडरशिप से बात करके कांग्रेस लेजिस्लेटिव पार्टी की बैठक बुलाई, लोग जयपुर चले गए, लेकिन राजस्थान के विधायक उन लोगों से मिलकर अपनी बात, साफ बात रखने की बजाय उन्होंने मीटिंग में आने से मना कर दिया, जो एक इनडिसिप्लिन की बात थी, जिसके चलते अशोक गहलोत जी ने सोनिया जी से मिलकर एक माफ़ी मांगने की बात की। क्योंकि क्या है कि एज ए लीडर ऑफ लेजिस्लेटिव पार्टी उनकी जिम्मेदारी थी कि लेजिस्लेटिव पार्टी की मीटिंग हो, और मीटिंग में जो अपेक्षा थी कि लोग अपने अकेले मिलकर बताएं कि वो क्या चाहते हैं, वो नहीं हो सका। इसलिए स्वाभाविक तौर से अशोक जी आए और उन्होंने अपना नामांकन, अपना पर्चा वापस लिया और कुछ घटनाएं घटी। अब ये दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण था, नहीं होना चाहिए था, लेकिन अब जो हो गया। लेकिन आप देखिए कि कांग्रेस में जैसे ही चुनाव घोषित हुए, एक जीवंत प्रक्रिया शुरू हुई। मुकुल वासनिक जी का नाम आया, उन्हें भी समर्थन था, अशोक जी को भी हम समर्थन सब दे रहे थे, हमारी भी आपसी बैठकें हो रही थी, हम चर्चा कर रहे थे क्या करना चाहिए। फिर दिग्विजय सिंह जी का नाम आया। इसका मतलब कांग्रेस में एक बार फिर जान आ गई, जैसे कि कई सारे लोग तैयार हो गए। शशि थरूर जी आए, हम कुछ लोगों से मिले और वो भी उन्होंने निर्णय लिया कि मैं भी चुनाव लड़ूंगा। तो एक हेल्दी प्रैक्टिस है, इसमें कौन सी गलत बात है? क्या भाजपा में आपने कभी देखा है कि जब से नरेंद्र मोदी आए कोई ऐसी कोई प्रक्रिया हुई है जिसको आप चाहे तो शैम प्रक्रिया कही है, चाहे तो फर्जी प्रक्रिया कही है, लेकिन चुनाव तो हो रहा है। अब चुनाव में कोई भी व्यक्ति अपना नामांकन भर सकता है, किसी के हाथ किसी ने पकड़े नहीं है, किसी ने मना नहीं किया कि आप मत करिए।
लेकिन पृथ्वीराज चौहान जी, अशोक गहलोत के विधायक जो हैं, जिस तरह से उनका बिहेवियर रहा था, आप चाहते हैं कि दुनिया मान ले कि उसमें अशोक गहलोत जी का हाथ नहीं था, या उनकी मर्जी से नहीं हो रहा था, या वो इसको कंट्रोल नहीं कर सकते? तो यानी कि वो पहले भी कभी अध्यक्ष बनने नहीं आना चाहते थे, और अब ये तमाशा करने के बाद उन्होंने इंश्योर कर लिया कि अध्यक्ष पद नहीं चाहिए, यहां कोई पावर नहीं है, यहां कुछ सुधरना नहीं है, मैं वहां राजस्थान का मुख्यमंत्री ही ठीक हूं। क्या ये मैसेज नहीं गया?
नविका जी, मैं आपको मैं आपकी जानकारी के लिए मैं बताना चाहता हूं कि अभी हमारे जो जनरल सेक्रेटरी वेणुगोपाल जी, उन्होंने कहा था कि राजस्थान के अध्यक्ष पद का फैसला 2 दिन में होगा, यानी कि राजस्थान के लीडरशिप का इशू ओपन है। तो ये आप मत समझिए कि ये अपने आप उन्होंने कुछ तय किया है। जो हुआ वो बहुत दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण था, जिसके लिए स्वयं अशोक जी ने यहाँ आकर माफ़ी मांगी और अपने आप को कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष पद के चुनाव से अलग कर लिया है। अब क्या वो मुख्यमंत्री रहेंगे नहीं रहेंगे, वो 2 दिन में फैसला होगा। तो आप ऐसे डोंट जंप टू कंक्लूजन। और एक तो मैं राजस्थान की घटनाओं में डायरेक्टली इन्वॉल्व नहीं था। जो चीज़ आप देख रही थी टीवी पे, आप पढ़ रही थी न्यूज़पेपर में, वही मैं भी देख रहा था। तो लेकिन हम दिल्ली की बातों की बात करें, मैं समझता हूं कि आपको मानना पड़ेगा कि 22 साल के बाद अगर कोई कांग्रेस पार्टी में कोई घटना घट रही है तो उसको आप ऐसे मत टालिए, उसका मजाक मत उड़ाइए। एक बहुत ही
मेरा मजाक उड़ाने का कोई मतलब नहीं है। आपकी पार्टी है, आप बेहतर जानते हैं, लेकिन मैं पब्लिक की तरफ से सवाल पूछ रही हूं, क्योंकि इस देश में पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज जो होती हैं वो अल्टीमेटली सत्ता में आने के लिए डेमोक्रेटिक प्रोसेस से गुजरती हैं, चुनाव से गुजरती हैं, और इलेक्शन में पब्लिक का ट्रस्ट जीतना उनके लिए जरूरी होता है। इसलिए मैं जो सवाल लोगों के दिमाग में है मैं वो उठा रही हूं। तो मैं ये भी सवाल उठाना चाहती हूं कि खड़गे जी, लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन इन राज्यसभा, नाउ प्रेसिडेंशियल कैंडिडेट, मैं पूछना चाहती हूं, राहुल गांधी चुनाव की या भारत जोड़ो यात्रा की जो शुरुआत कर रहे हैं वो भी केरल कर्नाटक से, तो यानी कि आप महाराष्ट्र से आते हैं तो पश्चिम भारत में कोई नहीं आपको मिलता, आपको नॉर्थ उत्तर भारत में कोई नहीं मिलता, आपको ईस्ट भारत में जो कुछ हो रहा है वो बस सिर्फ साउथ का। तो क्या ये मान लिया जाए कि कांग्रेस को अब नॉर्थ ईस्ट वेस्ट से कोई उम्मीद नहीं है, जो कुछ भी है वो अब केरला कर्नाटका के बीच में ही बचा हुआ है?
देखिए नाविका जी, ये चुनाव हो रहा है, चुनाव में कोई भी प्रत्याशी बन सकता है, नॉर्थ का बन सकता है, साउथ का बन सकता है, उत्तर का, दक्षिण का। आप ये क्यों कह रही है कि कोई किसी को मना कर दिया कि कोई पूर्व का ना बने या उत्तर का ना बने? देखो, आदमी अपनी जज करता है कि मेरी इलेक्टेबिलिटी कितनी है। क्या दिग्विजय सिंह जी साउथ से हैं? क्या अशोक गहलोत जी साउथ से हैं? क्या मुकुल वासनिक महाराष्ट्र से नहीं है? तो ये ऐसे क्या
ना, वो तो चुनाव लड़ नहीं रहे।
शशि थरूर भी साउथ में है, लेकिन वो उनको किसी ने बिठाया नहीं ना। उन्होंने अपने आप सोच के कि भाई कांग्रेस पार्टी के हित में सबसे अच्छा क्या रहेगा, क्या मेरी उम्मीदवारी सही रहेगी या किसी और की उम्मीदवारी सही रहेगी, वो सोच के अपने साथियों के साथ चर्चा कर उन्होंने ये फैसला किया है। किसी ने बाध्य तो नहीं किया कि आप हटाइए, किसी ने मना तो नहीं किया, हाथ तो नहीं पकड़ा था कि नहीं आप नहीं पर्चा भरेंगे।
पर खड़गे साहब गए तो थे दिग्विजय सिंह के घर, अंदर क्या बात हुई किसे क्या पता? कोई मैसेज होगा हाईकमांड से?
देखिए दिग्विजय सिंह जी खड़गे जी से मिले थे, खड़गे जी दिग्विजय से मिले थे। जब भी कोई प्रत्याशी बनना चाहता है तो वो फोन करता है, वो जाके मिलता है, उसमें कौन सी बड़ी बात है, वो तो हमेशा रहता है।
लोगों
तो मतलब
का कहना है।
आपकी आपत्ति है कि खड़गे साहब दिग्विजय सिंह से क्यों मिले? नहीं, किसी का कहना ऐसे नहीं है। जब चुनाव होता है तो आप अपने साथियों की सलाह मशवरा करते हैं, फोन करते हैं। आज सुबह मैं टहलने बाहर गया था, तब खड़गे के कई सारे फोन आए कि भाई उन्होंने गुजारिश की कि मैं प्रत्याशी बन रहा हूं, आपका समर्थन चाहता हूं, आप आइए हमारा नामांकन भरिए। सबको उन्होंने फोन किया। हमने वहां पे 2 उम्मीदवार सामने थे, हमने खड़गे जी को समर्थन दिया। मैं स्वयं खड़गे जी के साथ मैंने बहुत सालों तक काम किया है। जब मैं कर्नाटक का जनरल सेक्रेटरी था, खड़गे जी एमएलए थे, पार्टी के अध्यक्ष थे, उस समय हमने साथ में एक चुनाव लड़ा है। बाद में खड़गे जी महाराष्ट्र के प्रत्याशी बने और मैं महाराष्ट्र में एमएलए था, उस समय हमने साथ में काम किया। मैं उनको बहुत अच्छी तरह से जानता हूं, उनकी एबिलिटी जानता हूं, उनकी कार्यशैली जानता हूं। मैं समझता हूं कि अच्छे अध्यक्ष साबित होंगे, तभी वो लगातार 7 बार विधानसभा का चुनाव जीते, लगातार 2 बार लोकसभा का चुनाव जीते। उनमें कुछ तो बात होगी जो इतनी रिकॉर्ड नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स वो चुनाव जीतते जा रहे हैं। वो दूसरों को भी चुनाव जिता सकते हैं, उनको मौका तो दीजिए।
पृथ्वीराज चौहान जी, लोग ये भी कहते हैं कि खड़गे जी शायद गांधी परिवार के रबर स्टैंप होंगे, ये लोगों में परसेप्शन है। और दूसरी बात, उनका जो नेशनल हेरल्ड में क्लोज इन्वॉल्वमेंट है, शायद इसलिए ज्यादा फेवर्ड कैंडिडेट थे गांधी परिवार से। इस सवाल का जो सोशल मीडिया पे चल रहा है, क्या जवाब देंगे?
देखिए, मैं उस पर नहीं जाना चाहता जिसका कोई सबूत ना हो। और देखिए, कांग्रेस पार्टी के वो एक आला नेता है, अहम नेता है, दिल्ली में राज्यसभा के हमारे विपक्ष नेता है। वो डेली सोनिया जी के साथ मिलकर, राहुल जी के साथ मिलकर काम कर रहे हैं। अब ये बात, ये तो तर्क है बीजेपी की तरफ से फैलाए जा रहे हैं, उनमें हम तो उनका हाथ नहीं रोक सकते, तो जिनको जो करना है करिए। लेकिन मैं यही बात फिर से दोहराना चाहूँगा कि 22 साल के बाद कांग्रेस में एक जनतांत्रिक प्रक्रिया हो रही है, उसका स्वागत करना चाहिए। कांग्रेस में एक चुनाव हो रहे, फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शंस हो रहे हैं, हमारी इलेक्शन अथॉरिटी है और हर एक राज्य में वोट डलेंगे और उसके बाद में एक कांग्रेस में मजबूती आएगी जो कि एक जनतांत्रिक व्यवस्था से आती है। तो इसमें मैं समझता हूं कि जो विपक्ष
नहीं, आपने कहा फ्री एंड फेयर इलेक्शन, ये कितने फ्री एंड फेयर थे? क्योंकि जो मधुसूदन मिस्त्री जी हैं, जो इलेक्शन के सो कॉल्ड इलेक्शन कमिश्नर हैं कांग्रेस पार्टी के, वो तो सब कुछ रिपोर्ट दे रहे थे सोनिया गांधी जी को कि किसने पर्चे लिए, कितने लिए, पवन बंसल ने 2 लिए, किसके लिए, ये सब कुछ तो तय हो रहा था। तो ये कितने फ्री और फेयर इलेक्शन थे पृथ्वीराज चौहान जी?
नहीं, ये देखिए, ये किसने कितने पर्चे लिए, तो ये तो आप लोग दे रहे थे। ये कोई मधुसूदन मिस्त्री तो टीवी के सामने बैठ के कोई कमेंट्री नहीं दे रहे थे, मीडिया से कमेंट्री मिल रही थी, मीडिया से हमको खबर मिल रही थी किसने कितने पर्चे लिए, कौन नॉमिनेशन भर रहा है, कौन नहीं भर रहा है। आप दिग्विजय सिंह को दिन भर से टीवी पे दिखा रहे थे, मुकुल जी को दिखाया आपने, अशोक जी को दिखाया, तो मीडिया के माध्यम से हमको खबर मिल रही थी। तो अगर ये आप अगर निर्णय ले लें, अगर तय कर ले कि नहीं कांग्रेस के चुनाव फ्री एंड फेयर नहीं है या मधुसूदन मिस्त्री फ्री एंड फेयर चुनाव नहीं कराएंगे, तो उन पे अन्याय होगा। ये
मैं पूछना चाहती हूं कि 22 साल पहले आपने कहा था एक चुनाव हुआ था, उसमें सोनिया गांधी को 98% वोट मिले थे। क्या ये एक्शन रीप्ले है इस बार के चुनाव का कि मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे को 98 या 99% वोट मिल जाएंगे, ये तय है?
देखिए, चुनाव हो जाने दीजिए, अब लोग फ्री है किसको वोट डालेंगे, कौन पार्टी के हित में काम करेगा, कौन ज्यादा अनुभवी है, कौन नहीं है। और ये आप क्यों सोचते हैं कि शशि थरूर जी को कोई समर्थन नहीं मिलेगा? चुनाव के नतीजे आने दीजिए, देखें।
इसीलिए कह रही हूं क्योंकि G23 जो था, G23 में आप भी थे, शशि थरूर भी थे। अब आप तो खड़े होकर नामांकन भरवा रहे थे खड़गे जी का, तो शशि थरूर को वोट कौन देगा?
नहीं, देखिए, G23 ये तो आप लोगों ने घड़े नाम दिया हुआ है। हमने कुछ लोगों ने मिलकर कांग्रेस अध्यक्षा से संवाद प्रस्तापित करने की बात की थी, हमने बातचीत की हुई थी क्योंकि मुलाकात नहीं हो पा रही थी। लेकिन ये लेटर पता नहीं कैसे लीक हो गया, किसने किया, उसके बाद आपने नाम दिया, मीडिया के लोगों ने दिया कि भाई 23 लोग थे तो ये ग्रुप ऑफ 23 हो गया और उसके बाद हो गए। शशि थरूर जी हमसे मिले थे, लेकिन अंतिम तौर पर कि मैं चुनाव लड़ रहा हूं, जो अंतिम प्रक्रिया होती है कि भाई आपका मुझे समर्थन चाहिए, आप हमारे साथ आइए, ये दुर्भाग्य से नहीं हो सकी। अगर वो करते तो क्या हम उनका समर्थन करते, ये मैं नहीं कह सकता, क्योंकि कोई G23 वगैरह कुछ था नहीं। हम कांग्रेस के हित में कुछ बातें कर रहे थे। हमने एक ही पत्र लिखा था और उसके बाद एक हमारे सोनिया जी से एक बैठक हुई थी। उन 2 घटनाओं के 2 साल में सिर्फ ये 2 घटनाएं हुई थी, जिसके आप कहे कि कोई हम अलग पार्टी बन गए हैं या हमने इलेक्शन कमीशन में जाकर अपना नाम दर्ज कराया है, हमने लेटरहेड छापे, हमने रजिस्टर ऑफिस दिया, ऐसा कोई बात नहीं थी। ये सब मीडिया का क्रिएशन था।
पृथ्वीराज चौहान जी, ऐसे लगता है कि कांग्रेस पार्टी का सब कुछ मीडिया ही कर रही है। कितने लोगों ने पर्चे लिए ये भी मीडिया बताती है, मारपीट नहीं हुई ये भी मीडिया बताती है।
आप खुद देख रही थी
G23 नाम पर तमाम G23 के लोगों ने ही उसको G23 कहा है, कई साउंड बाइट्स में कहा है, कई इंटरव्यूज में कहा है, यहां तक कि आपके जो कल तक के चीफ होते थे गुलाम नबी आजाद, उन्होंने भी कहा है। वो तो पार्टी छोड़कर चले गए। तो मैं पूछना चाहती हूं, आप दिखाना चाहते हैं, दुनिया को कि सब कुछ ठीक है, सब कुछ ठीक है, आप दिखाना चाहते हैं, लेकिन दिल पर हाथ रख के बताइए, क्या सब कुछ सच में ठीक है?
देखिए, मैं समझता हूं कि जो 24 साल के बाद घटना घट रही है, वो क्या उसके बारे में कुछ ना कहें हम? ये कोई सामान्य घटना है? क्या ये हम चाहते थे? सोनिया जी चाहती तो नहीं बहुत इलेक्शन में, क्योंकि अध्यक्षा थी, उन पर पूरे अधिकार है। उन्होंने चुनाव करवाए हैं, चुनाव हो रहे हैं, इसको आप कुछ भी अहमियत नहीं दे रही हैं। मेरा मानना है कि एक बार जनतांत्रिक तरीके से चलने तो दीजिए। आप अभी से इतना नेगेटिव क्यों सोच रही है? कांग्रेस पार्टी मजबूत होती है तो देश मजबूत होगा उससे।
ऑपोजिशन तो जरूर मजबूत होगी, लेकिन मैं एक और सवाल पूछना चाहती हूं, क्या ये टोटल नो कॉन्फिडेंस है इन द यंगर लीडरशिप? यानी कि किसी हालत में आप राहुल गांधी को नहीं चाहते थे इसलिए खड़गे जी भी आपके लिए ठीक है, किसी हालत में आप सचिन पायलट को बागडोर नहीं देना चाहते थे राजस्थान के लिए, तो वहां स्टेटस को ठीक है।
आपत्ति है इसमें नाविका जी, मुझे बिल्कुल आपत्ति है। कम से कम मेरे मुंह में ये शब्द मत डालिए। हमारे किसी को विरोध नहीं था, और लीस्ट ऑफ ऑल राहुल जी को। मैंने तो पब्लिकली कहा था कि अगर चुनाव घोषित हुए हैं, राहुल जी अगर खुद पर्चा भरना चाहे तो हम उसका स्वागत करेंगे, लेकिन जब आप पर्चा भरते हो तो जिम्मेदारी भी लेते हो कि हाँ, अगर मैं जीता तो मैं पूरा समय कांग्रेस को दूंगा, मैं फुल टाइम कांग्रेस प्रेसिडेंट होगा। तो ये आप लोगों की घटी हुई बात है कि ये कोई सारा ग्रुप था, ये लेटर था, वो राहुल गांधी के खिलाफ था या सोनिया गांधी के खिलाफ था, ये बिल्कुल गलत बात है। हम सिर्फ दो बातें चाहते थे, मैं फिर से दोहराना चाहूंगा कि फुल टाइम प्रेसिडेंट और इलेक्टेड प्रेसिडेंट। इसमें कहां से बात आई कि हम किसी के खिलाफ है या किसी को नहीं चाहते? ये तो मीडिया जो चाहता है कि किस तरह से नैरेटिव तैयार किए, तो हम उस पर थोड़ी जाएंगे आपके नैरेटिव पे। हमारी बात सुनिए ना आप।
तो चौहान साहब, आप ये बताइए, क्या आपको लगता है सचमुच सीनियरिटी जरूर है मल्लिकार्जुन खड़गे के, पर यह भी सोचिए 80 साल के हैं, क्या उनके आने से पार्टी काडर और पार्टी की लीडरशिप ये बदलेगी, इन्विगरेट होगी, इसमें नई ऊर्जा आएगी? क्या यह संभव है?
देखिए, चुनाव हो रहा है, चुनाव में जो पर्चा भरेगा उसी को वोट डलेंगे, उस पड़ेंगे। अब कई लोग विचार कर रहे थे, वो नहीं आगे आए। अगर हो सकता था मुकुल जी सामने आते तो मेरे राज्य से आते हैं, वो हमारे फेवरेट कैंडिडेट बनते। अगर अशोक जी होते तो जरूर हम उनका समर्थन करते, लेकिन ये उन्हें पूछिए कि उन्होंने क्यों नहीं अपना पर्चा भरा। क्या किसी ने उनका हाथ रोका था, हाथ पकड़ा था कि नहीं भरिए, उनको मना किया था? जो हमारे सामने जो चॉइस है, जो हमारे विकल्प है, उसी के ऊपर वोट पड़ेंगे, और व्हाट इज बेस्ट पॉसिबल एट द मोमेंट विल डिसाइड।
पर चौहान साहब, किसी ने हाथ पकड़ा था कि नहीं, यह तो पहले से तय था कि जो भी अध्यक्ष बनेगा वो गांधी परिवार के अंगूठे के नीचे रहेगा। शायद इसलिए अशोक गहलोत अपनी इंडिपेंडेंस खोना नहीं चाहते थे, वो पहले से ही कह रहे थे कि मुझे दोनों पद रखने दीजिए।
दोनों पद रखना तो संभव नहीं था, कम से कम हम तो उसका समर्थन नहीं करते, क्योंकि हमारी मूल बात फुल टाइम प्रेसिडेंट की थी। अब चीफ मिनिस्टर का कोई पद मैंने भी चीफ मिनिस्टर पद पे काम किया है, क्या पार्ट टाइम पद है? क्या कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष का पद आप जयपुर में बैठ के चलाएंगे? वो तो संभव ही नहीं था। या आप लोगों की अटकल है कि उनको दोनों पद पे बना रहना चाहिए था, वो ये बातें नहीं थी। उन्होंने जो भी बातें अपनी कही थी हाईकमांड से या कांग्रेस अध्यक्ष से, वो अपनी जगह थी। उनका एक चॉइस था कि वहां पे अगर मैं दिल्ली आया तो वहां पे क्या होना चाहिए, वहां की व्यवस्था क्या होनी चाहिए, उन्होंने उसकी बात की थी। उनको इतना अधिकार नहीं है क्या? राज्य के मुख्यमंत्री है।
बस सचिन पायलट नहीं चाहिए, बात बॉटम लाइन की